protect yourself and your family from unexpected challenges. Consider accident-only income protection. Click the link in the description to find out more.
You want anything bad enough? Don't make excuses. You gotta lose your time and your sleep for it. You find a way.
Boxing King Media in association with SaveMoreMoney.com. Delighted to be joined by Gareth A. Davies in a Bedouin tent. Is that right?
It is. I've got a vape, but you know what? It's a real shame that we haven't got a big shisha going right now, because that's the only thing missing from here. I think this is probably one of the most famous Bedouin tents in the whole of Riyadh, because you know it's been constructed in the Fight Hotel here, and it's a beautiful place to come and sit. I was sitting here listening to some Bedouin music earlier, wasn't I? But it's kind of like modernised and tranced up. You know, it's the morning after the night before, isn't it? And we're still working.
We're still grafting away. Don't you think, like Saudi, it's incredibly hospitable, and the things to do here are unreal. Like you said, we're currently sat in a tent inside a hotel. It's almost like we stepped back in time.
I'm heading down to the market later. I'm trying to find one that's open, because it's time for me to get in some of the traditional dress. I'm going to soup it up a little bit with long jackets over the top and the headdress as a scarf, and because when I come back here for the other big events that are going to happen in 2024, I want to start stylising a little bit.
I was going to say, we've seen a few people in the local traditional dress, but we haven't seen you in anything yet.
No, I need to go to the market and get some tunics and
something
I'm
wild.
Put it, yeah, but I'm going to give it my own kind of my own slant, if you like, because I mean, I think people look very elegant in the dress. I find it so photogenic. But anyway, it's nothing to do with the fight.
I think Wilder and Jarrell Miller were the best dressed in the build-up to the fight, especially Jarrell Miller. He was getting everything customised, made, and he looked incredible.
Yeah, they both did, and Lyndon Arthur looked good in the traditional dish dash, and what's the headdress?
I can't remember.
Yeah, but he looked really good in it as well. And you walk past people because they're in it. It's almost like it's a uniform, isn't it? It's traditional dress. So yeah, it's beautiful to be in another culture with the sport we love, being part of the travelling circus, if you like. And it's been another amazing week in Riyadh.
It definitely has. You know, before we even get to this card, I think I've got to, because last time I spoke to you, we didn't bring up the comments. I've got to pull out a couple of gems this time.
This is from from your followers?
Well, they're our followers, but I think they're fans of you because they watch all your stuff religiously. So this is from...
Or trolls?
I don't know. Lee the Bold Guy says, Gareth is the sort of guy who would ask the sun to put sun cream on him because he's worried that the hotness will burn it. I'm not sure what that means. Well,
that's too clever for me at this time of day. It's gone right over my head, that one, but yeah, probably.
This next one, I'll leave it on this one. This is from DB Cooper. Gareth is the type of guy who will sit next to you on an empty bus, then ask you if you've had a shower.
Probably right. Probably right. You know, I'd never sit next to anyone on an empty bus. I'd be right at the back, probably tired, and probably lie down in the back seats, put a bit of music on and go to sleep. We don't get to go on buses very much these days. We have a lot here, interestingly.
That really did crack me up. The fact that you're going to ask them if they've had a shower as well, I think makes it even more comical.
Oh no, I'd definitely ask if they had a shower.
Yeah. In fact, just on that point, I don't know if you've ever answered it. Why did you ask Dillian White if he had a shower?
Do you know what? I was on my way.
Did you plan it, or was it just spontaneous?
No, I'm always looking to ask a slightly different question to just to get... Sometimes if my mind's a bit bare and I think that we've been asking the same people the same questions for a long time, I try and, if I'm on a bike ride or I'm exercising, that'll be interesting, because it'll just elicit something unusual from them by just going down the route of a question they've maybe never been asked before. The reason for asking that question is historically some fighters didn't wash in fight week or don't wash because they want to smell organic, because they want to put their opponent off. They want to let those pheromones be there, and that was the reason behind it. There were fighters that traditionally didn't wash before a fight. yeah, Dillian was probably not the right person to ask first.
I think he answered. I was going to say that literally.
He kind of brushed me off with a couple of, like that, didn't he? Really, it was.
I think the look on his face was like, "What the fuck is he about?" But I'm glad you gave us that golden moment on YouTube. It was brilliant.
It's not stopped since.
No, I don't think you'll.
I did ask about 10 heavyweights in the next 2 or 3 weeks, though. You know, do they shower before a fight? Because and I got some decent answers actually.
Yeah.
Some of them like to be really fresh and be perfumed and all this kind of stuff. I haven't found one yet who said no, I don't bother before a fight. But definitely, in the past, fighters have like, I'm just going to be natural. I'm going to go in there smelling like an animal.
Well, if the fans have got any more analogies or thoughts about Gareth, drop them in the comments. We'll pick out the best ones for the next time.
I'm still closing the fridge door with my hip.
See,
I've broken the fridge door. No, I'm not.
Well, they changed your life.
I still don't get that. I still don't understand it.
Well,
do you open and close the fridge, or close the fridge with your hips?
Just with my hands. But I think it's good that the fans have got this idea of of how you live your life, and let them keep them coming. I do enjoy them. Let's talk about last night, Gareth. I'll start off with the Miller Dubois. I know you picked Miller to win by a stoppage mid to late rounds.
Yeah, late stoppage. Yeah.
From what I saw, Daniel Dubois started strong, had some worried times in the middle, and then came on strong and got the stoppage in short. Did he answer all the questions that people have been asking about him for years?
Huge stones, huge cojones, huge balls, whatever you want to say, massive heart, real stamina in the fight as well, because he was facing a small truck in there, was coming in all the time. You know, it's probably like hitting a massive sofa. I heard someone else say that last night, and it's spotting. I think it was Tom Gray who said to me, he's absolutely right. But he's like a small truck, isn't he? Wow, he soaked up all Daniel's punches, and he kept coming. And in those middle rounds, that's what I had perceived. Would Daniel come through, giving everything he potentially had, and Jarrell Miller still being there and advancing forward and coming in on him? It was a torrid fight after 9 minutes. My word, Jarrell Miller is God, he can absorb some punches. But Daniel came back, had a little sink in the fight, threw his hands in the sixth, built again, and was tremendous by the end, and was obviously very close to stopping him. If it had been a 12-rounder, not a 10-rounder, he would have stopped him. He is back. As they throw all those pieces in the air and they all settle in this heavyweight Super League, he's there in the top 8, top 9, top 10, definitely.
100%. I spoke to him yesterday. I said, like, it needs to be highlighted again that everyone said he was going to quit. They've been putting the quit narrative on him, obviously, because of the couple of defeats he's had. But last night, I felt like it seemed like he wanted to prove it to himself that he's not. And did you feel like in the middle rounds, because it looked like there was times where he thought he's going to get folded here, because he looked like, Miller was catching with a lot of jabs, a lot of shots, and he was on the back foot, and he looked like he was getting tired. And then something happened. I think from what I've learned, I don't know if you saw this or not. Apparently, Frank Warren got Daniel's dad to give him a rollicking after round 6 or 7.
No, I heard it because I was doing the broadcast. We heard that round, and Stan said, "Let your fucking hands go, let your fucking hands go." And believe it or not, a lot of people criticise Stan. I think it's Stan. Some people call him Stan. Other people call him something else.
Mr. Dubois Senior.
Mr. Dubois Senior. Some people criticise him for being too involved. I said to him after the fight, "Well done for saying that," because it was the opposite advice to what Don Charles was giving in the corner at the time. And it was coming out, I think, for the 6th or the 7th. He did let his hands go, and he got into the fight then, but then he boxed properly as well after that. It was the right thing. It was the beginning of the 6th, wasn't it?
It was.
He came out and he had an assault on Miller, and it really took a lot out of Miller, and that was the point when Miller's mouth dropped open, there's blood coming out of his mouth, and he really began to fatigue. So good call there. I genuinely said to him afterwards, you definitely said the right thing then. It's brilliant when you got the privilege of listening to the corner because of the microphone when you're doing the broadcast. Of course there were question marks about, I don't like using the word quit ever, by the way, because quit has its own nuances as well and its semantics, but look what that guy does against, Jarrell Miller made Daniel Dubois, who's a huge human being, look like medium size yesterday, didn't he?
He did.
Nearly 100 pounds heavier, nearly 7 stone heavier, nearly 24 stone he was in there. And he was so determined. He's on a second life. You'll have met Jarrell this week. You did interviews with him. I've known Jarrell a very long time. And even though he's hated in the fight world for his positive drugs test, I know Jarrell as a man and as a person. And there's a very, very interesting, fascinated human being there who's had a difficult life.
Very humble.
He is very humble. And he's lovely, believe it or not.
Complete opposite to what
I know.
you people, and it's.
But
it's,
people don't know. But let's not give it too much of that, because he's the villain and he likes to play the villain, and he is a smack talker.
I think without us giving an opinion, I think if you've not seen it, watch the documentary feature that we put up about him.
Yeah, it was very good
the other day. That will give you an idea of the kind of person he is.
It was very good, very, very good, and yeah, please watch it. You've done some great documentary work out here, by the way. And as you have for the last year or so, fantastic stuff. Jarrell pushed Daniel to the limit. This is a massive learning fight for Daniel Dubois, and he'll sail after this. He'll absolutely sail, because he learnt so much about himself. I tried to post-fight interview him for TalkSport, and he was roaring and whooping at the crowd so much you didn't say anything. I mean, I had about 25 seconds with him as he left the arena, and he's just roaring with the crowd. He will grow from that. He's still a very young man, and as I say, he's in this Super League heavyweight mix now, and it's onwards and upwards from him. He proved everything he needed to prove.
I'm going to come back to what's next for Daniel in a moment, and you'll see why. But what's next for Miller, do you think? Can he come back from that? I spoke to him off camera, and he was disappointed but humble in defeat. He gave Dan all the credit. Dan actually said to me in the post-fight interview that Miller's my friend for life now, which basically tells you the kind of conversation Miller's probably had with him post-fight.
No, but also what they've been through together.
Yep.
There's so much respect between those two now. That was fight of the night. No question about it. I mean, we'll come to Joseph Parker's performance, and that was extraordinary. I'm not buying people saying, oh, but Wilder was always crap anyway. You've got all these comments at the moment. It was an extraordinary performance by Parker. What those two men went through together, Parker and Miller, last night, that was a torrid fight deep into the well for both of them. And I don't want to see them fight again. I don't want to see them do that again for their health.
I mean, which direction
where
does Miller go?
Yeah. You can throw Miller in against any of the top 10 and he will give them everything. And
I was thinking the other day, Arslan Beck lost. What about Arslan Beck versus
Miller?
Miller?
Yeah, that works. That's good.
It's a good fight.
That's a really good fight. There's jeopardy for both of them in that. Yeah,
Yep.
Good call. Good matchmaking. That's the one I'm going with.
I'll take 1%. Next fight, let's talk about Wilder Parker. The narrative, as I spoke to Joe a bit ago, everyone was saying Parker will be ahead on points, but he'll get stopped at some point. As soon as Wilder lets go of that right hand, he's going to get took out. He's flipped the script, as they say.
Yeah, he did. I was wrong about that. I thought exactly the same.
You said the same.
Yeah,
which is fair, because that's.
Yeah, but Wilder was, even in the 12th round, beaten up, nearly knocked out in the end of the 8th, I think it was, wasn't it? Very close. Saved by the bell in that round, really, in my view. Joe, who's just been here, of course, getting ready to fly home. He's still engaged in that last round, and there were moments where he was exhausted in that last round as well, where Wilder could have had some foothold in the fight and turned it around. No, it was just a brilliant, calculated, cool, calm, composed performance in which he stuck to the game plan given him by Andy Lee, avoided the right hand all night, went under it, landed his own overhand right at will, jabbed brilliantly, commanded the space, footwork was extraordinary, brilliant basic boxing skills, and he never allowed Wilder out of that dangerous cage with his hands, even to the point where Malik Scott, around, again, round 6 in that fight, was saying to Deontay, throw the jab uppercut now, because that they could see that as a way back and a way through. And he tried it in the next round. I think it was the 6th or 7th, and he was successful with it, and he got the uppercut through. But Joe didn't allow him the space to do that, and he controlled the mid-range really well. I thought it was a really fine performance. But also, I've said this for a while, Joe looks physically so well, and as he says, great things from George Lockhart at the moment. He's worked with UFC fighters who cut enormous amounts of weight, keeps them really well, nutrition, food, their diet, cooks for them. Joe's in a fantastic place. It was a brilliant performance. He did make Deontay look old. And when Deontay isn't able to exact his game plan, he looks one-dimensional. And he made him look one-dimensional all night. Desperate in some ways. But it was a shutout for me.
Well, a lot of people, like you said there, are saying, "Oh, Wilder's gone. He's finished. Lost too much weight. He's not the same Wilder." But I remember they said the same thing about Joseph Parker when he lost to Joe Joyce. Parker's done his shot. His legs are gone. He needs to retire. It's only fair that we give the guy the credit. Can it not just be the case that it was because of his skills, the game plan him and Andy Lee had, that kind of disable everything Wilder had planned? Because he's got Malik Scott in his corner, and you know Malik doesn't chat shit. He basically went in there with full confidence that they were going to stop Parker.
Yeah, and you could see why, and you can see why. He'd knocked down every one of his 43 opponents, and he'd knocked out 42 of his in his 43 wins.
That.
Sorry, in his 43 wins. Yeah.
But yet, like you said, he's knocked everyone down. I forgot about that. Parker's the first person.
He hasn't knocked down. It's the first person. But that was down to an amazing game plan. As Tyson Fury said to him in the build-up, avoid the right hand. And basically that's what he did all night. He avoided the right hand. Because Deontay's got a jab, but he barely uses it. Probably should have tried to use it a bit more last night. But Joe never allowed him into the fight. I mean, I think the interesting thing about Joe is in the shape and mindset he now is, rejuvenated. You know, there's a Usyk fight. He'll never fight Fury, I don't think. They're almost too close to fight each other. I could see him fighting Joshua again. I could see Wilder fighting Makhmudov as well. That was a fight I thought might, if they want to keep Wilder in the mix and keep him alive in terms of in the Super League, because I could still see Wilder and Joshua happening.
A lot of people are saying that.
Yeah, definitely. I could still see Wilder, but not now, not straight away, because it doesn't work. Because in the mind's eye, the way that the optics often work with promoting is, you see that last performance, and you can't see a way of Wilder beating Joshua based on Joshua's performance. I know we're going to come to that in a minute, but Wilder needs to come back and have a win. I spoke to Tally Swift, his wife, last night, and Deontay's wife, and she was saying she wants him to box not beyond 40, and he's 39 next year, isn't he? So he's probably got 3 fights. He won't give up. He's ruled out retirement anyway. It was a bad performance. It was a below par performance, but he wasn't allowed to do what he does best. We know he's a 2 or 3 trick pony. That's what he does. Power, equaliser, can end a fight. Only needs the moment to change it, and he didn't get the chance last night against Joe Parker.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that waiting for that shot keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole fight.
It does,
but it never happened last night.
But also he didn't really, and this is, I don't want to take any credit away from Joseph Parker, because he didn't carry that usual air of menace in there last night, because there wasn't a moment where you thought, oh my God, he's on top of Joe here, but you still know, based on his body of work, that he can suddenly turn a fight around, even going into the 12th round. But he did take a lot of damage last night, shipped a lot of punishment, as he did in that long fight, that last long fight with Tyson Fury, and the fight before. So there is age on him. There's age physically in life, and there's age in fighting terms. So he may never be the same again, but he needs to get back into the win column and be Deontay Wilder again before you put him in with a Joshua, or a Fury again, or a Usyk.
Let's see what happens. Parker next, as I said to him earlier, and I think him and Andy Ruiz would be great again. You know, if not, who would you ideally like to see Joe Parker win?
Are they teasing him and Andy Ruiz? Does Joe think he's fighting Andy Ruiz next?
I'm just putting it out there.
Well, they fought each other already.
Yeah, and it was a controversial decision.
Yeah, but it wasn't a thrilling fight either. It was before Ruiz beat Joshua, of course, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So, and at the time, I remember Bob Arum was promoting Andy Ruiz, and he said,
I just realised I interviewed Joe just before you, and I think I said to him, people thought you won, but in fact what I meant was people thought Andy Ruiz won. Yeah. Joe's one that got the decision. I just realised that's what lack of sleep does to you. But yeah, I think it'd be good to kind of cement that and see, you know, who the bigger man is.
Yeah, I don't mind seeing
good
that.
fight.
I'd like to see. You could see Joseph Parker against Agit Kabayel. That's a really good fight. After Agit Kabayel's win over Makhmudov, Makhmudov proved that he is beatable, or Kabayel proved that he's beatable. Had an instinct to. Did we talk about that in the week?
It was a body shot, apparently.
Yeah, no, it was a body shot. But in the week, being around Agit and seeing him training and looking at his physicality here and how tuned in he was for it, can't tell with Makhmudov because he's like.
I tell you what I find interesting about Makhmudov. At 5:30 in the morning on the Davies fight, I saw him at the mosque across the road.
Yeah.
He went for morning prayers. Apparently he's been doing that every day.
They love him here, though. I mean, he's a devout Muslim. He doesn't say a lot. He's a great character. He's an absolute tank of a person. He's a giant human being. But, again...
I think he's took the defeat bad. I spoke to Ajit, and obviously Ajit's also a Muslim, and I think he wanted to go across and had a bit of a chat with him, but
of course, he's heavily disappointed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd picked Makhmudov as one of the stars to watch next year and in 25. He'll come back. They're not going to get rid of him. And look what he did before this.
To be fair, the fight was quite good.
It was a really
He looked
good
like he
fight.
was all
So
over
compelling.
him. Because did you think Makhmudov was going to stop him in the first couple of rounds? Because he was kind of bossing the fight, and then that body shot changed it all.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
But Kabayel, European champion, very good boxer. He's been touted as being in big fights for a while. He took his moment. He took his moment on the stage, under the bright lights, and he proved that he's got it when it counts. And I think it's onwards and upwards for him. I think he's one of the stars, potential stars of the Super League to emerge from last night.
Last fight, AJ Wallin, and again this is a fight that a lot of people, I don't think I saw anybody other than AJ's own team. Ben Davison was saying it, KD, people around him were saying that AJ will stop him. They were saying don't be surprised if it's a round 3, 4, 5 max. That's what they were all saying, but every neutral person in that fight was saying don't be shocked if Wallin beats him on points. Don't be shocked, expect a very close, nitpicky fight. But instead, what we got was a one-sided demolition job, effectively.
On the pay-per-view card, I got 2 right and 2 wrong. I got the Parker-Wilder fight wrong, and I got the Miller and Dubois fight wrong. As I said, I thought Wilder. My pick was, and it has no bearing on who I want to win. I mean, Parker and Wilder, I love both those guys. I didn't want anyone to win that. I didn't want anyone to lose it. I'd pick Wilder for a late stoppage. I'd pick Jarrell Miller to get to Daniel. I'm delighted with the outcomes. But I did pick Bivol to beat Lyndon Arthur. That was on the pay-per-view. But I'd also picked Joshua to win in 5 rounds, remarkably. It's rare when you get the absolutely right round. But I'd spoken at length to Ben Davison, and Ben, over the years, I've never found that he's trying to send me on a sidetrack or telling fibs. And he said, honestly, Anthony was destroying sparring partners. He seems in a fantastic place. He's got the instructions. We know exactly where he needs to nullify Wallin's strengths and attack his weaknesses. And you could see it from the opening minute that Joshua was with his step-in jab to the body, his step-in jabs, his left hook off the right hand, at least seeing 1 or 2 or 3 punch combinations from him straight away that he meant business in this fight. And he was ramrod about everything he did. He had that air of menace about him all week, and he carried it into the ring. He looked incredibly confident. On the couple of times he was caught on the counter, he just carried it really well. Wallin's not the biggest puncher, of course, but he absolutely roasted him round after round. He cut him apart. He chopped the tree down, and I'm really glad they pulled Wallin out of the corner at the end of the 5th round, because as we know today, he's not well today. He's gone to hospital. I don't think there's anything serious in terms of long term, but he needs to be looked at. He busted him up.
Yeah, he busted his nose.
I'd say technically, see again on the eye test, when you put that Joshua in with the last Tyson Fury performance, you go,
It's interesting how everything keeps changing, doesn't it? 2 fights ago, Fury smashes AJ in a couple of rounds, and now most fans have been thinking, oh, like you said,
exactly. So that's what makes it fascinating.
That should be a point to most.
You're only as good as your last performance. That's what we're saying.
I think that should be a point to a lot of people who will take the piss out of fighters. They'll all be saying now Wilder's done his shot. he might come back and spark somebody out in a round.
Yeah,
And be like,
exactly.
oh, what? So
Exactly.
it's worth highlighting that. There,
Styles
because-
make fights.
Exactly.
People are different. People carrying little niggles, little injuries. Different things have a bearing on the fight. It's a fight.
Mention of Ben Davison, we've seen that obviously a lot of opinion from coaches around the world and people in boxing. Most people are obviously questioning why is AJ changed trainers again, why would he go from Derek James to Ben Davison, etc., etc. And we've seen people also say, you know, Ben's not made anyone from scratch, or, you know, we see these narratives out there. But what we do know is he turned around Lee Wood's career. He played a part in Jordan Gill's recent win. Obviously, it was Barry that was training, but no doubt Ben played a part in that as well. And then obviously you've got AJ. People have been demanding a ruthless AJ, a come forward AJ, which we haven't seen. We've seen a cautious AJ, but last night we saw a guy that just wanted to take his head off. So
Look,
surely
Ben
Ben's got the
Davison
credit.
is super smart. He's a great
You
communicator.
know, one more thing there, Gareth. He did no interviews in the
Who's
prefab.
Gary?
I don't know.
Who's Gary?
He's just left. Ben did no interviews pre-fight, and I asked him a few
He
times.
did one with me.
I know, but like with the YouTube.
But I
channel,
didn't use it till the day of the fight, though.
Alright, well, there you go. So he basically said that he didn't want to do anything. He wanted the performance.
No, I remember, yeah.
Performance to the talking, and then he was happy to talk to people afterwards. He did promise me, and if he's
Mark
listening,
Damori just wandering
I'm
by.
gonna-
By the way, he looks well today.
Mark, yeah, he does. He's safe and well. I'm going to hound Ben down at his gym at some point. But ultimately, he's got to be given the credit for what the part he's played.
Look, I've known Ben quite a long time now.
You have?
All the way through the Fury era with him. And Ben's super intelligent, great communicator, has emotional intelligence for days, got a wise old head on young shoulders, not scared to give his opinions, is very honest with his fighters. I believed him going into this, what he was telling me, and it was proven on the night. I think he's great for AJ. I hope AJ stays with him. I've always
Do you think
thought...
he will?
I think he will. I think he'd be sensible to. That was his 4th trainer in 5 fights. And that's, for me, that was second by second, minute by minute. That was the best technical and IQ performance we've seen from Anthony Joshua, using his own style, using being what he is, maybe even ever. It was his aggressive nature and style allied with experience, the experience of knowing what he was doing, having a game plan for everything the traps Wallin was trying to set him. I think it makes sense to stay together. 4 trainers in 5 fights, and they clearly have a good relationship. I think they were hinting at it at the post-fight press conference, but as Ben said, we've agreed fight by fight, so, you know, let's see
You
what
asked
happens.
the question if the next fight or the fight after was Tyson Fury. Do you think that there'd be any issues with that?
Well, AJ was trying to explain how sound bites that he says are often taken and made into headlines, and that the wider context isn't put in there. And so people were asking him about, you know, was it definitely Wilder next or the belt next? And obviously Wilder's probably out of the picture now in terms of that fight happening. So, you know, I think I asked, if he had what would he want next? Would he want Hrgovic for the IBF title if that becomes vacant and they fight for it to be a 3-time heavyweight champion of the world? Or would he rather have the Fury fight if Fury beats Usyk? Because that is a much bigger fight. So, and he said, yeah, 100% I'd like to fight Fury, but I'm not ruling out Hrgovic. And that's the right answer.
Definitely.
Whatever's right for him now. But obviously, His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh, and what's happening with George and Frank Warren and Spencer Brown with Queensberry around the putting together, the assimilation, the assembling of these huge cards, is they're not doing the delaying that often goes on. I know Wilder and Joshua didn't fight each other on this card, but they're not extending like boxing can do and can traditionally do with this. So we may well see him in with Fury very soon, because it's an enormous fight. It will generate so many views, just like Joshua and Wilder was going to be an enormous fight. That may still happen though at some point.
Fascinating. Last thing, there was a reason why I didn't ask you what's next for Dubois. I'm going to put it out there. Let's just say March 9th, if it is the date. AJ versus Dubois. What do you think of that? All British heavyweight fight.
I think
Both coming off
I
big
think
knockout
age.
wins.
I think it's a great fight. It's a great matchup. I mean, like, again, thrilling.
That could probably do Wembley, couldn't it?
Yeah, it would do well, but I think AJ deserves a bigger fight than that. Without dismissing Daniel at all, I think he deserves a world title shot, and I think it'll probably be Hrgovic, because I think the IBF, well, as Eddie Hearn was saying yesterday, it doesn't just become vacant and available to us after 24 hours after they fought for that belt. Obviously, all the belts are on the line on February the 17th with Usyk and Fury. But I think that's the more likely route. You know, because where AJ is in his career, as two-time heavyweight champion of the world, you really want to see him. You want to see him in big fights. If it's not a world title fight, you want him against a very big name. Ian Parker could fight again at some point as well. But the Super League is being formed here, and it's like quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals all the time. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It's an absolute privilege and a pleasure to be out here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I'm signing off for Christmas. I've got a column to write. We're flying back on Christmas Day. You arrive back in the morning of Christmas Day. I wish you well. It's been an amazing year. Keep doing what you're doing. It's brilliant to be a part of this era in the heavyweight boxing scene. We've waited a long time for this. Thanks to the Saudi Arabians for backing it, to His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh. It's a brilliant time to be involved in this sport, and long may we savour it. Merry Christmas to all of you.
And if you haven't been to Saudi, get yourself over. Thank you.
Have you ever been stranded on the side of a motorway with a broken down car? Like me, is that something that worries you? That's where motor breakdown insurance comes in. If your vehicle breaks down, a trained professional will be sent out to get you back on the road. Or if this is not possible within the specified time frame, to transport you to your home or to the nearest garage.
You want anything bad enough? Don't make excuses. You gotta lose your time and your sleep